Okay, good morning, everyone. On behalf of the George Washington University Law School, its Energy Law Program, its Sustainable Energy Initiative, I welcome you to the final day of the Investable Nuclear Energy Conference. My name is Garrett Henderson, and I'm an attorney with the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, their Office of General Counsel. And of course, as an employee of the federal government, I must include the disclaimer that any views I offer today are my own and don't necessarily represent the views of the NRC. Now, I think the NRC should adopt my opinions, but, because they're pretty great, but okay, sirrah, sirrah. I'm also a 2016 graduate of GW Law, though the white in my beard might suggest it's been a little bit longer than that. I've got to tell you that I didn't go to law school to become a nuclear energy attorney. It wasn't even an option that was on my radar. I had aspirations of working in space law or some aspect of international law, and but one of the great things about going to law school is it offers you so many options, so many different points of view and new experiences, and potential career paths that you never knew even existed. My journey started with taking Professor Glicksman's administrative law course, which I'll admit I took because it was a requirement and met a lot of prereqs. But I found it interesting. And more than that, exposed me to areas of natural resources law, which I found fascinating. And so I took a course on that, which led me to energy law, which I took with Professor Emily Hammond. And it was her infectious enthusiasm for nuclear energy that led me to the career path that I'm on today. And for those students that are joining us, I'd also like to put an ardent plug in for extracurricular opportunities. My experience with GW at the National Energy and Sustainability Moot Court Competition, with interning at the American Wind Energy Association and participating in the conferences and the lectures that were organized by Don Atanasio and the Energy Law Program, were at least as important as to shaping my career as my coursework was. And as my career advances, I continue to look for opportunities to learn, to develop my skills and broaden my horizons. Recently, I completed a course at the International School of Nuclear Law put on by the OECD's Nuclear Energy Agency. It's organized, in fact, by one of the panelists that you'll hear later today, Kimberly Nick. That experience really did open my eyes to the incredible network of people around the world, all working to make nuclear energy safer, cleaner, equitable, and financially feasible, which is a point that is often overlooked. All in an effort to usher in technologies that can provide us solutions for some of the most pressing issues that are facing the planet. The nuclear community is a small one, but it's also incredibly broad, with amazing people from every corner of the globe and every walk of life. Now, reading over the bios of the speakers here today and throughout the convention, I'm constantly amazed by the accomplishments, the skills, and the dedication of the people working in the field. And at my own procrastination, as I never quite managed to submit a bio on time. I'd like to think I have a good excuse, though, what with being immersed in litigation. And right as I was in the heart of discovery, my wife left on a business trip, resulting me in juggling discovery and a rambunctious one-year-old. And last night, as I was trying to come up with what I was going to say here to you today, I looked down at my beautiful time suck of a child, and it really, really did hit me. This is his life we're talking about. These issues we're talking about, this is going to all happen during his existence. As Yogi Berra once said, the future ain't what it used to be. And man, if that's not the truth. As a teenager in the 90s, hearing about climate change and hearing talk about 2030, 2050, 2100, it seemed like a daunting problem that needed to be addressed, but it was also so very, very far off. And we talk about taking the action on the behalf of the future of our children's children. That's no longer the case. My son, assuming he doesn't choke trying to swallow the remote control, will likely live to see 2100. He'll be 79, and the world he'll live on will look very different from the one we live in today. I don't know what the world will be, whether we will solve the carbon problem in time to avoid the worst of climate change, whether nuclear really will play a significant role or not. But one thing is for sure, the status quo is simply not an option any longer. Change is coming, and it's up to us to see how we're going to meet that problem. Now, the premise of this conference is that the nuclear energy industry has an important role in combating climate change, but only if public opinion and investors support it. On Monday of this week, we considered the importance of the industry's profile on environmental and social justice issues, both as a matter of compliance and as part of an attractive investment profile. Tuesday examined a broad range of supply chains and looked at the impact of new technologies. The third day provided the audience the chance to weigh in and share their ideas in a series of workshops. And today we'll look at our last big theme, the very important issue of furthering fact-based and positive communications to important constituencies, including the public, students, and investors. Today we'll have the opportunity to hear from some truly distinguished panels on garnering public support, teaching the future workforce, and communicating with investors, with former NRC Chairman Stephen Burns providing us some words of wisdom to close us out on what has really been an incredible 4 days. But first, it's my honor to introduce today's keynote speaker, Executive Director of the Nuclear Innovation Alliance, Ms. Judi Greenwald. Ms. Greenwald has over 35 years of experience in energy and environmental policy, leadership experience in both the public and nonprofit sectors. Her incredible career and achievements are far too great for me to sum up here today, but I encourage you to read the bio she provided on the GW website. Her focus on deep decarbonization and the hurdles necessary to achieving it are incredibly pertinent to the goals of this convention and to the future of nuclear energy. And I, for one, am extremely interested in what she has to share with us. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Greenwald.
Thanks so much, Garrett. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Good morning. As Garrett said, I'm Judi Greenwald. I'm the Executive Director of the Nuclear Innovation Alliance, or NIA. NIA is a think and do tank working to create the conditions for success for advanced reactors to be a key part of the solution to our climate and energy challenges. We're funded mostly by climate and energy philanthropy, so our work is in pursuit of the public interest. And cooperation and collaboration are at the heart of everything that NIA does. Today, I'll outline NIA's perspective on the conditions for success for advanced reactor deployment and the role of collaboration in achieving that. Realizing the promise of advanced nuclear energy as a climate and energy solution will require a whole of society approach. Industry, government at every level, and civil society all have key roles to play and need to work together to achieve the technical, commercial, policy, and social license objectives essential to deploy advanced reactors across the country. NIA's Fission Vision report that we just released in April outlines a path to doubling domestic nuclear energy production by 2050 to help achieve 100% clean energy in the United States. This doubling would be at the pace and scale essential to play a major role in tackling deep decarbonization. The clear societal challenge and goal of Fission Vision provides the basis for discourse and collaboration on advanced nuclear energy. This is not something that can be achieved in silos. It necessitates teamwork, and it has to be built on a strong foundation of technical expertise. We need the next generation of nuclear engineers and developers to help lead the way. And that's why in 2016, NIA and several university partners began sponsoring the Nuclear Innovation Bootcamp. Bootcamp is a 2-week summer experience where students and early career professionals can develop the tools and understanding needed to approach the clean energy challenges of today and tomorrow. The program incorporates multiple disciplines, including technology, engineering, business, public policy, and stakeholder engagement, organized around teams creating new business ventures that they pitch to a panel of judges. Bootcamp 2022 is back in person this year at the University of Wisconsin on August 1st to 12th, and applications are open until May 22nd. Since 2016, collaboration, diversity, innovation, and entrepreneurship have been core values for the bootcamp, as it strives to introduce new young people to the sector while advancing the careers of those who already work in it. To ensure that financial need is not a barrier to participation, the program is presented at no cost to students. I encourage all of you to share the application information with students or young professionals you know with an interest in clean energy and nuclear energy. Check us out at nuclearinnovationbootcamp.org, where you can apply directly online. Having the right personnel is necessary, but not sufficient to create the commercial conditions for success. As with any new innovation, deployment of advanced nuclear technology requires a combination of public and private investment through public-private partnerships. Private partners bring the investment savvy to identify commercial promise and low-risk investments. Public partners bring the focus on public benefit. Together, public-private partnerships can develop the necessary infrastructure and surmount the initial hurdles that all new technologies face. Both public and private action is also needed to integrate advanced nuclear energy with other clean energy sources and energy storage systems. Sensible and technology-inclusive climate and energy policies can drive private investment toward public benefits. For example, policies can address the cost for replacing fossil fuel facilities with advanced nuclear energy and encourage the development of solutions for non-traditional electric and non-electric user needs. To realize the policy conditions for success, coordination needs to occur at the federal, state, and local level, and we need bipartisan cooperation in Congress and across government agencies. NIA regularly conducts discussions with policymakers to make recommendations and advocate for inclusive clean energy policies, like tax incentives that will help deploy all clean energy technologies, including advanced nuclear energy. A variety of government agencies and units have key roles to play. Within the Department of Energy, key offices include the Office of Nuclear Energy, also known as NE, the Advanced Research Projects Agency Energy, also known as ARPA-E, the National Nuclear Security Administration, or NNSA, and the Office of Clean Energy Demonstrations, a new office called OSED. DOE OSED is undertaking the Advanced Reactor Demonstration Program, which is supporting large reactor demonstrations through public-private partnerships. DOE NE is working to develop the domestic market for something called high-assay low-enriched uranium, or HALEU, and to ensure availability of this fuel for the next generation of reactors. Many advanced reactors need this newer type of fuel. DOE ARPA-E is leading a program for optimizing nuclear waste and advanced reactor disposal systems. They call that program ONWARDS. Its goal is to reduce the waste produced by advanced reactors and resolve the waste and storage challenges associated with advanced fuel cycles. NIA is collaborating with Congress, DOE, and stakeholders to ensure effective planning and implementation and sufficient resources for these programs to catalyze the commercial market. Another aspect of the policy conditions for success is the licensing of advanced reactors by the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission, or NRC. The United States must get this right, and it's a central component of NIA's work. For licensing to go well, there needs to be fluid discourse and collaboration between company applicants and NRC regulators. NIA's view is that both the NRC and developers have important roles to play in making the process work. NIA's report on effective and efficient advanced reactor licensing, which we released in December 2021, provides recommendations for applicants and regulators that could help reduce the time and uncertainty of advanced reactor licensing while meeting stringent safety standards. For example, industry and the NRC need to have top-notch project managers and efficient processes for there to be robust application submittals and efficient and effective license reviews. NRC needs to lead with consistent regulations, and frequent and clear communications between NRC and licensees will enable stronger applications and better license reviews. NRC is in the process of updating many of its regulations that pertain to reactor licensing. It needs to collaborate with stakeholders to develop and codify consistent, risk-informed, performance-based, and technology-inclusive regulations that address advanced reactors. NIA submitted comments and ideas to the NRC for their consideration on how best to do this. NIA also identifies the barriers that the existing NRC licensing fee system creates for first-of-a-kind advanced nuclear innovators to demonstrate these technologies prior to their commercial deployment. We released a report in May 2021 that discusses solutions for addressing NRC licensing fees. NRC fee reform will require stakeholder collaboration as well as congressional action. Other government agencies with collaborative roles in achieving the policy conditions for success are DOE and NNSA for ensuring security, safeguards, and export controls for nuclear material, the U.S. Department of Commerce for developing, coordinating, and implementing export strategy, and the U.S. Department of State for overseeing non-proliferation and negotiating Section 123 agreements for peaceful nuclear cooperation. These agreements are a prerequisite for significant nuclear exports to occur, pursuant to Section 123 of the Atomic Energy Act. Growing international interest in advanced nuclear reactors opens up a tremendous opportunity for U.S. companies. NNSA, Commerce, and State need to adapt policies and plan for a changing international market with new countries in the nuclear energy sector. State and local governments have roles to play too. State-level stakeholders need to develop a common understanding of the role that advanced reactors can play in achieving states' climate and energy goals. NIA is working to educate state-level policymakers about advanced nuclear energy and its public benefits. Policy and planning is important at the local level as well. Government officials and community leaders must consider the unique role that advanced nuclear energy can play, including in remote areas, and explore ways in which advanced reactors can integrate with other clean energy sources in grid design. Local governments will also need to engage early in the siting process and actively participate in consent-based siting. Discussions must be inclusive of communities that have a history of exclusion from public benefits. We need effective, efficient, and community-inclusive policies and processes to properly select locations for advanced reactors in a manner that benefits communities. This will prioritize community empowerment and environmental and energy justice at the outset of the site selection process. Equitable and consent-based siting is crucial for obtaining social license to operate for advanced reactors. Obtaining social license is the ultimate condition for success and is essential to fully realize the public benefit that advanced reactors can provide. With the different parts of society working toward the technical, commercial, policy, and social license conditions for success, a robust U.S. innovation and commercialization ecosystem will emerge and deploy advanced nuclear energy and integrate it with other clean energy sources. Matching the unique attributes and advantages of advanced nuclear energy with appropriate use cases and ensuring complementarity with other clean energy technologies will enable the development of novel energy systems that can facilitate rapid decarbonization. Achieving 100% clean energy production in the United States will require the decarbonization of industrial users that have historically relied on fossil fuels for energy. Advanced reactor developers must recognize these markets and identify where advanced nuclear energy can play a unique role in decarbonization. Collaboration between energy generators, energy system operators, regulators, and other government agencies and energy end users is vital to establishing technically, commercially, and politically viable pathways to 100% clean energy. Decarbonization is the biggest challenge of the 21st century. We all have a stake in the outcome of climate change mitigation, and it's paramount that society achieve results quickly and on an enormous scale if we want to avoid the most severe effects of climate change. Achieving Fission Vision's goal to double nuclear energy in the United States by 2050 will require constructing at least 100 gigawatts of new nuclear energy production over the next 30 years. While this deployment rate may seem daunting, the United States did this before when we constructed over 100 gigawatts of light water reactors between 1960 and 1990, and there's no reason that we can't do it again, this time with advanced nuclear energy. I encourage anyone who's interested in more information to visit the Nuclear Innovation Alliance website, where you can access our reports, webinars, blogs, and other educational tools. Also, please follow us on social media through LinkedIn or Twitter at the NIA.org. And I encourage anyone interested in Nuclear Innovation Bootcamp to apply either this year or in the future. I hope I provided insights on the role of collaboration in deploying advanced nuclear energy. Thank you for your attention, and I'd be happy to take questions.
Okay, we currently don't have any questions in the Q&A. If anyone would like to offer any questions. Seems like we might have a quiet bunch today.
Could I intervene and ask a question, please?
Of course.
I'd actually like to hear a little bit more about the role for states. You mentioned them. Of course, they're not part of the licensing process, but obviously they're integral players. when it comes to things like siting, which would be more the state environmental entities. And then, of course, from the perspective of the state public utility commissions, their encouragement would be important, as well as state legislatures who are looking at meeting climate goals. How do we engage? How do we approach all those state actors and bring them into the addressing these important concerns?
So there's actually a lot of exciting things going on at the state legislative level. Just in the past few years, a number of states have reversed. They had a number of states had construction restrictions on new nuclear construction, and a lot of them have reversed those restrictions. So just recently, for example, West Virginia used to ban basically new nuclear power, and now they are open to it. And that's happening in a number of states. We're also seeing a number of states enact or put into place climate policies that are technology inclusive. They include a broad range of low or zero carbon technologies, including advanced nuclear energy. So we're actually seeing a lively debate, and it's almost like popcorn, where different states are keying off of each other and advancing policies. Just this first few months of this year, we've testified at 3 state level proceedings where they're considering legislation of some type that's inclusive of advanced reactors in some way, either working on eliminating restrictions on new construction or including advanced nuclear and broader energy and climate policy. So it's a very exciting moment. So, wherever you are, I would look into what your state legislature is up to, and you can weigh in that way. Also, public utility commissions are considering their utility plans for how they're going to meet decarbonization goals. Many utilities, as they dig deep into what it's going to take to achieve deep decarbonization, are finding they're going to need nuclear energy. Many of these utilities are utilities who use nuclear energy now, but also utilities who haven't used nuclear energy before are looking at the advanced nuclear energy because it's different and it has some interesting attributes that can be helpful and maybe more amenable to meeting goals than the climate and energy goals than it's been the case in the past. In particular, you probably have learned about this over the past few days, but these advanced nuclear technologies tend to come in smaller increments. They're more flexible. They have more inherent safety benefits, and they have a number of them have advantages with respect to waste. So there's really a lot of reason to take another look at advanced nuclear energy in light of our climate and energy goals. And a lot of state legislators and public utility commissions are doing just that right now.
Looks like we have a question that came in from, excuse me if I butcher this name, Kiera Zittelman. She says that she's wondering if NIA is coordinating with state regulatory commissions on advanced nuclear. As economic regulators, how can PUCs best prepare to make decisions on new nuclear while keeping climate goals and affordability reliability in mind?
Yeah, so we actually have been doing some work with NARUC, which is the National Association of Regulated Utility Commissioners. We just produced a brief last fall for state policymakers, kind of an advanced nuclear 101, what state policymakers need to know. We've also interacted with a number of public utility commissioners around the country. There's actually an active working group that the National Association of Regulated Utility Commissioners is doing jointly with DOE to educate themselves about advanced nuclear energy, and we're trying to help with that. I do think that as the projects become more further along, that's more when the regulators come into play. It's usually in the contents of particular projects. At the moment, I think it's more focused on the legislative role, and broadly, for example, governors have been weighing in on siting of power plants, and communities have been, and the public utility commissioners are just getting started to educate themselves and weigh in on utility plans and on their policies.
Okay, no further questions have yet come in. Any last calls for questions? Okay. Donna, where do you want to go from here?
I think there might be one more
Oh,
question.
we've just had one pop up. Yes.
People are just typing slowly this morning. Yeah, the fingers aren't moving yet. The coffee's not running. So yeah, folks, get your fingers limbered up there. And you've got 4 seconds to get another question in here.
Yeah, while I'm reading this question, type your next question in, then I can read that one. It'll be great. This one comes from Nick Johnson, who thanks you for the discussion. Was wondering if you could comment more on international markets and exports, especially in light of the recently proposed International Nuclear Energy Act.
Yeah, so exports is of course super important for a number of reasons. You know, if we're going to decarbonize, it's a global issue, so we have to decarbonize globally. And there's a lot of opportunity for advanced nuclear energy around the world. And the US has a particular advantage, at least at the moment. Hopefully we'll maintain this advantage. There's a lot of innovation going on by US companies, even as we speak. There are about a dozen advanced nuclear reactor companies who are engaging with the Nuclear Regulatory Commission in either what's called pre-application or actually formal application processes. They're also attracting private investment. There's a lot of public investment where Congress has invested a lot in the Advanced Reactor Demonstration Program and other programs. We are really all in the United States, at least at the moment, on investing in nuclear from both a public and a private perspective, and that companies are really pursuing what they need to do on the licensing front. And we have a huge opportunity to leverage that US investment and innovation ecosystem and become an exporter of advanced nuclear energy technology around the world. There's a hunger for clean energy around the world. And there's a lot of places where they already have some nuclear and they'd be interested in advanced nuclear energy. And there are also countries who, again, might not have considered nuclear energy in the past, but because of these new characteristics of these advanced nuclear technologies, advanced nuclear energy might really be a good option for them. And so we are pursuing both of those things. We need the Department of Commerce to be active. And, you know, a lot of times the US Department of Commerce and other agencies of the US government, the State Department, take a major role in encouraging exports and making sure that the international markets are open to US technology. So we have to do that. Also, with respect to nuclear technology, there are safeguards that we have to maintain, and we need to have a leadership role in that. And the more we are in the middle of the export game, the more influence and leverage we have over making sure that the rules of exports and the restrictions make sense and are reasonable, and make sure that nuclear energy exports help in decarbonization and are a force for good in the world.
We also have a question from an anonymous person. What are examples of how nuclear energy could pair with renewables for deep decarbonization?
Yeah, so we're going to need everything to help with deep decarbonization. We're going to need a lot more renewables and also nuclear energy and other firm clean energy options. Nuclear energy in general and advanced nuclear energy in particular is a firm version of electricity. That means you can count on it at any moment. And it's really important to have firm resources that can anchor the electricity system. There's a lot of exciting things going on in the renewable space. We are advancing rapidly. The costs are coming down, and there's a lot of growth in renewable energy. But particularly wind and solar are variable, so you can't count on them all the time. So you do need to pair those types of energy with firm, clean electricity like advanced nuclear energy and some other options as well. So it's really important that we pursue all of these options. We need a portfolio of solutions, and we have the best chance of success on decarbonization if we pursue all of these and if we work together to integrate them with one another for a robust and resilient electricity system and energy system.
I have a question of my own, actually, I'd like to pose you. I'd like to hear your thoughts on one of the workshops yesterday. We discussed the rise in geopolitical tensions and how in some ways this has opened up the dependence on, say, Russian oil and gas, and have opened up some countries to pursue other technologies, possibly nuclear. On the other hand, the same rise in tensions threatens to create a logjam for uranium, which is coming from Kazakhstan through Russia, also coming from Russia. Do you see the current tensions around the world potentially being a boon to nuclear, or possibly being a negative to the chance of nuclear development?
Yeah, I mean, I think on balance, it's a boon, but there are definitely issues. I think we here at home and in cooperation with our allies need to develop more robust supply chains, and we need to not be dependent on Russia for either uranium or oil. The uranium market is a global market, and there are other suppliers. So we do think that it is not only possible, but important that we have more robust supply chains among ourselves and our allies. We do have a particular problem right now with what's called high assay low enriched uranium, this HALEU, where at the moment, the only commercial supplier of HALEU is in Russia. So we definitely have to accelerate our progress on making sure that we have a domestic and or allied supply of HALEU. And that is something that we're working on, as well as a lot of other stakeholders and policymakers. So that's urgent. I would say that we do have the good thing about nuclear technology. So for example, in Germany, which recently shut down some of their nuclear plants, and all it did was make them more dependent on natural gas, that they actually are considering restarting those nuclear plants. And they had planned to shut down the rest of their nuclear plants, and they're reconsidering that too. So I do think that in general, people are realizing the benefits of nuclear power, not only because it's zero carbon, but also because it's resilient, and we actually do have robust supply chains that we can rely on. And we do need, in all aspects of our energy system, we do have to make sure that we have a diversified supply and that we are dependent on ourselves or our allies, and not countries which are, aggressors.
Another question came in. Thank you for that, by the way. How could NIA's Fission vision goal to double nuclear energy be relevant to the global mitigation of climate change, given that climate change is not bound by borders?
Yeah, so our thought is that we have to do it here at home. We have to demonstrate its effectiveness and also export. So it would really be both. The goal specifically for the U.S. is to double our own use of nuclear energy using advanced nuclear energy. And in parallel, as we do a good job on that, we demonstrate the technology and we set the stage to export it globally. And we actually talk about in Fission Vision, if people are interested, it's on our website, about how if we can export and other countries would play a role as well, we could become a huge supplier of advanced nuclear energy. And that actually could add up to a significant fraction of the need for global clean electricity. And it would be at the scale that we need globally. It wouldn't solve the entire problem. You could at least theoretically do that, but we think it's significant wedge. I don't know if people are familiar with the wedge concept, which is about a gigaton or a billion tons of carbon dioxide. We think that advanced nuclear energy could provide globally a wedge of clean electricity to achieve a significant fraction of the greenhouse gas reductions that we need globally. So it's both. We both need to do it here at home. We have to demonstrate that it works. We have to demonstrate that it can be licensed through the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. We have to demonstrate that it can be cost effective, and we have to become good global citizens and also global economic players and commercial players in getting that technology around the world to help meet energy and climate needs.
Our control room has another question for you. We want to get your views on diversity. We understand, of course, the boot camp is a great way to help bring students from diverse backgrounds into the industry, but of course, then we also need to have an industry that's welcoming and accepting and provides that ongoing mentoring. Any thoughts about how the industry is doing, how they can do better, and where we're going in terms of diversifying that workforce?
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a challenge, I think, in the energy industry broadly, but particularly in the nuclear energy industry. And we are working on that. We have the most leverage, I guess, in the early part of the pipeline. So we're focusing as much as we can on getting young people into the sector. But you're right, you also need mentors, and you need the sector to be welcoming. I am seeing more and more of that. There is an organization called Gender Champions in Nuclear, which has a lot of the leading nuclear energy focused organizations and companies who have made commitments. We also have a lot of companies who are very engaged in sponsoring boot camp and are very interested in increasing the diversity of their workforces. And so we are seeing a change in the industry, and we actually need a lot of people probably in this audience to help us. I do think that it does need to go both ways. We really need more young people coming into the sector, and we also need to be good mentors. And I'm happy, if people are interested, I'm happy to either be a mentor to people or connect them with mentors to get more young and a diverse pool into our sector.
Garrett, anything else?
Nothing else from me that I can come up with.
Well, then I think I would like to close out this session.
We just had one last to show up. Last buzzer beater. All right. Are there any other energy sources with the capability to support decarbonization, or is that unique to nuclear energy?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the beginning part. Say it again.
Are there any other energy sources with the capability to support deep decarbonization, or is that unique to nuclear energy?
Oh, yeah, there's a whole bunch. I've spent a lot of my career working on a lot of different aspects of climate solutions. There are all kinds of things that we need to do in the power sector, and it's sort of a larger scale solutions. There is advanced nuclear energy. There's also advanced renewables. There's regular renewables, wind, solar, geothermal. Offshore wind is a very exciting area. Carbon capture is a really exciting area. We think we'll need a lot of that. In transportation, there's a lot of excitement around electric vehicles, and that's exciting because those electric vehicles can then take advantage of the zero carbon electricity that can be produced by nuclear, renewables, et cetera. There's also a lot of exciting things going on energy efficiency. If we can be more energy efficient, then we need to add less clean electricity because we don't need as much power. That's really important. There's a lot going on in the transportation sector with more fuel efficient vehicles as well as electric vehicles. Hydrogen is a really important emerging solution. It can be used in the transportation sector. It can also be used in the industrial sector. And it can also be used as an energy storage mechanism. Just like we can pair renewables with batteries, we could also pair any type of electricity production and use it to make hydrogen. And then we use the hydrogen to store the energy, and then we can remake it into electricity or power and use it as a fuel or electricity in industry and various other sectors. So there's a huge amount of innovation going on and all kinds of solutions across the different sectors and industries and activities that need to be decarbonized. So nuclear power, we think, can play a big role, particularly advanced nuclear energy, but it's part of a larger system of innovations and activities that can really make a difference together.
All right, and with that, we've hit our time limit, so I'm cutting everybody off. Ms. Greenwald, thank you so much for your discussion. I'm going to turn it back over to Donna.
I want to thank both of you for a fabulous kickoff to our last day of our conference. Judy, thank you so much for joining us. Your insights are really helpful, and it's really exciting to learn about the good work that Nuclear Innovation Alliance is doing. And Garrett, it's always a pleasure to have you back, so thank you very much. And with that, our audience, please go to the next link in your agenda. It's also in the online agenda, and we'll have that spun up in a few minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.